we're going to finish off section 1.1 with coterminal angles. Coterminal angles are angles in the same position with the same endpoint. So we can talk about these in degrees. So let's take this one in 45 degrees. This angle is 45 degrees. If I want one positive angle, I want the angle to look exactly the same, but I'm going to take that 45 degrees, I'm going to go all the way around the circle one more time, and so I'm going to start with the 45 degrees, and I'm going to add 360 degrees to it, which gets me to 405 degrees. So this angle over here is 405 degrees. If I want to go and get a negative angle, the angle is going to be the same. It has the same position, the same endpoints. It looks exactly the same. But what I'm going to do is, instead of going up to the left in a counterclockwise direction, I'm going to go down in a clockwise direction, and that's going to give me a negative angle. Well, all I really did was I took and I went around the circle, and I took out the slice of the angles. So I went around the circle and took out the 45 degrees. So I'm really taking the 45 degrees and I'm subtracting 360 degrees from it, well, which is going to give me a negative angle, which is what I want. I want one negative angle. And so 45 minus 360 is negative 315. So this angle is negative 315 degrees. And so if you look at the commonalities here, our positive angle, I'm going to add 360 to this to give me the same, to get back to the same position. And my negative angle, I'm going to subtract 360 from the degree in order to get back to that same exact position. Okay, so I have to go around the circle. I'm just going around in a different way. Positive 360 is going to go counterclockwise, and subtracting 360 is going to go clockwise. Let's take a look at that in radians. Because we want to be a little bit more consistent with this, we'll use the same angle, the same 45 degree angle, but now in radians, this 45 degree angle actually is pi over 4. Okay, so instead of adding 360 to it, and so radians, instead of adding 360 to this angle, we're going to be adding 2 pi, because that's how we get around the circle in radians. So I've got pi over 4 plus 2 pi. Well, in order to add those together, I have to get a common denominator. And so I'm not going to go through it because we should be fairly comfortable with common denominators here, but I'll walk you through it verbally. Pi over 4 plus 2 pi over 1, multiply top and bottom by 4 to get a common denominator of the 2 pi. So I have 8 pi over 4 plus 1 pi over 4 means I've actually got 9 pi's over 4. And so then that's my positive angle when I went around the circle one extra time, 2 pi. And then finally the negative one, again I'm going with this pi over 4, and so I've got the pi over 4, but instead of going around the circle in the positive direction, I'm going to go around in the negative direction, so I'm going to subtract 2 pi. Now it's the same work, we still have 8 pi over 4 for a common denominator, and so 1 pi over 4 minus 8 pi over 4 gives me negative 7 pi's over 4. So I have negative 7 pi over 4 for the angle that goes in the negative direction. And so again, looking at the commonalities here, I'm adding 2 pi and subtracting 2 pi in order to find coterminal angles. I'm just going around the circle one more time in whichever direction that I need to attend. And so here's kind of a look at that on some real-time view here. So we're looking at coterminal angles. This particular angle is the one in green here, DBC, and I'm going to be able to move this A, maybe. There we go. Give me 2. Okay, I'm going to be able to move this angle ABC here until I can get to a coterminal angle. Well, obviously 72 and 72 are coterminal. Do not give me that one. Okay, when I ask you for a positive angle, do not give me the one that I give you. what I want you to do is I want you to go around. If we add 360 to 72, I get 432. That's a coterminal angle. Okay, I can take and I can go around the circle again. 792 would be a coterminal angle. If I just keep adding 360, if I just keep going around this circle, I can come up with an infinite number of coterminal angles. Okay. Same thing happens here if I go backwards this way. So here's my original one, 72 degrees. And I'm going to go backwards. So I get back here to 0, and then I start going in the negative direction. Okay. So I get all the way, if I go around just one time, maybe, if I go around just one time, I get 360 minus 72, which is negative 288. I could go around again if I wanted to, and there's an infinite number of coterminal angles that I could come up with by just going around this circle in a positive and negative direction. Now the same thing happens here in radians. Notice that the radian measurement is in a decimal. It does not have pi's on it, but we can convert that pi measurement, pi over 4, if we were thinking back to our example, that pi over 4, we can actually take 3.14 and divide that by 4 and get a decimal version, and that's what this decimal is here. Okay. Obviously the pi over 4, 45 degrees is more like this at 0.78, if we rounded 0.79 I think. So there's the 45 degree angle when I'm looking for a coterminal angle. This is going to be the one that we had decided on, pi over 4 minus 2 pi, which gave us the negative 7 pi over 4. So negative 7 pi over 4 is negative 5.50. And we probably can actually take a look at that quickly here on a calculator. So if I did negative 7 pi, that's negative 7 times 3.14, we'll round. And then we're dividing that by 4. Gives me negative 5.49. They rounded it to negative 5.5. Okay, so in degrees and radians, coterminal angles. So then here's some of the example problems. You're not going to need to necessarily draw these angles, but I would hope that you could. What we're looking at here for the problems that we're doing is naming one positive and one negative. So I'm going to take that angle that I have. I need to realize if it's in degrees or if it's in radians. So this has the degree symbol. So I'm going to add 360 degrees to that to go around the circle once in the positive direction, which gives me 460 degrees. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to subtract 360 degrees, which is going to go around the circle the other way, which is negative 260 degrees. And these are my two coterminal angles, one that's positive and one that's negative. Now the same thing happens here if I have a negative 200 degrees. So I've got negative 200 degrees. I want to find a positive one, so I'm going to go around the circle in the positive direction. So negative 200 plus 360 is 160 degrees. Negative 200, and then I'm going to subtract 360 degrees to go around the circle the other way, which gives me negative 560 degrees. And these are my two coterminal angles. One is positive and one is negative. If you go around the circle and you don't come out with a positive one, then you need to go around the circle again. It needs to come out to be positive. Okay, so let's take a look at the back here. The back of this worksheet, we can clearly see that these have pi's in them. So this pi means that I need to be looking at radians. So I'm going to take pi over 2, and I'm going to add 2 pi. I'll go through and do the conversion in this one, just so that we're all clear here. In order to add these together, I have to multiply the top and the bottom by 2 to get a common denominator. So I have pi over 2 plus 4 pi over 2, which then gives me 5 pi over 2. And so this is my positive coterminal angle. And then I'm going to do the negative one. The negative one is pi over 2 minus 2 pi over minus 2 pi. And again, converting that, I need to multiply the top and bottom by 2. And so it's really pi over 2 minus 4 pi over 2, which is exactly what we had up on top, except we're subtracting it. And then 1 pi minus 4 pi gives me negative 3 pi, and that's over 2 still. Okay, so there's my two coterminal angles, one positive and one negative. When I come down here, all of these have degrees or radians on them. Let's try the number 16 here. So negative 3 pi over 4. I'm going to try to stay in the same color we had here, negative 3 pi over 4. And I'm going to add 2 pi to get my coterminal in the positive direction. I'm not going to go through this one. I want you to go through it and try it yourself, see if you can get it. But I need to multiply top and bottom by 4 of this 2 pi because I need it to be comparable to the 4 in the negative 3 pi over 4. So I'm adding 8 pi to negative 3 pi, so that's 5 pi over 4. And then the negative 1 is negative 3 pi over 4 minus 2 pi. So I'm subtracting 8 pi from negative 3 pi, which gives me negative 11 pi over 4. So I end up with these two answers. There's the one positive, one negative, so I answered the question. They're coterminal because I was going around the circle in one direction, and then I turned around and went around the other direction. They have the same starting point, same ending point. Make sure you just decide if you're in degrees, so you're adding and subtracting 360, or if you're in radians, you're adding and subtracting 2 pi.